So there's been an update about the chances of the Ayer Cut happening. This refers to the director's cut of the first Suicide Squad movie. So David Ayer gave an update about it, and it pretty much sounds like it's not going to happen. He said, "I am done with DC," and he was talking to somebody on Twitter about it. And he said, "Nothing about the situation feels good. The studio has no interest in releasing. It's time to run and not look back. Nah, I'm good. Don't need to be walking around with a begging bowl. Gonna protect my heart more moving forward." So it pretty much sounds like there's zero chance the Ayer Cut is gonna happen. And this just sucks to hear because I'm a big fan of David Ayer. I think he's a great director. You know, he directed the movie Fury, which is one of my favorite movies. Highly recommend you go check that out. It has Brad Pitt, the guy who played Percy Jackson, is in that movie. I think that's personally he's a great actor. I think that's his best performance. But just fantastic movie. I know he also directed Ayer Has, so I heard it was really good, but I haven't seen it. And then the guy on Twitter asked him, was this a James Gunn decision? Because James Gunn recently had a comment that made it sound like the Ayer Cut was the best going to happen at some point down the line. And David Ayer responded saying, "No one is autonomous in hire. Film will present it to a green light committee and a CEO and a corporate board. There are many hesitations and sign-offs." So he's basically saying that this wasn't a James Gunn decision. This was a CEO decision. The head of the studio, the higher ups, the people with the higher pay grades of James Gunn made a decision that they're not going to sign off on the Ayer Cut PMs. And look, I don't agree with this decision. I really would like to see what his original vision for Suicide Squad was. He talked about how it was a very dark, soulful movie, and it just sounds like it could have been a really good movie. His vision, whether it's better than the version that was like tore to shreds in the editing room by the studio, who knows? We never know unless we see it. But it just sucks to hear this bleak update, because I was really hoping it would happen. I mean, I can also understand why the studio maybe wouldn't want to release it, because, look, James Gunn is rebooting DC Universe in 2025 with Superman Legacy, and I'll be honest, I don't, if you didn't get it, if they weren't going to get it released before that, for 2025, I think that did, really lessen the chances of it happening. But again, this just sucks. It sucks as a film fan, because I always hate when you hear a director when he made a movie and it gets ripped apart by the studio, and you don't really get to see what the vision was. And David Ayer obviously has released pieces showing more that there was more stuff with the Joker. There was more stuff with Harley Quinn and their relationship. Steppenwolf was originally part of the story. He had different ending for the movie, and the tone was, what it sounds like, was more darker and serious, which you can tell in the trailers that there was a change there, because the first trailer for that movie was very dark and serious, and you watch the second trailer for Suicide Squad, and you can definitely tell it went for more of a fun comedy vibe, and you had all the pop songs in the second trailer. So you can definitely tell it was, you can tell in the first trailer is that the first movie was selling what his vision was, and the second trailer was selling a different movie tone-wise. So I really would have liked to see what his vision of the movie was. And like I said, it just sucks to see, like I said, as a film fan, that won't get to see it. Maybe sometime down the line, the studio will change their mind. But it really just sounds like David Ayer just doesn't want to talk about it anymore. And I can understand that too, him wanting to move on. Because if there's, if the high ups at the studio aren't going to release it, then it really pretty much, I would say, 100% confirms that the Ayer Cut just ain't gonna happen. So it just sucks to hear this as a brief thing, I guess we'll never know whether his cut was better or not. The next thing I want to talk about is that Steven Yeun dropped out of Thunderbolts. Now, he was being reported to play the Centenary. I don't know much about the character. I know he was in the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. Which, I remember in the video game, he was, what I know from the game is that he was a god-like character, like Superman. He had a little costume, long blonde hair. he was basically as powerful as Superman. I heard he's definitely one of the most powerful characters in the comics, and that he had like this thing called the Void in his head, which was like space in his head of showing that he had like a dark side to the character. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the character's backstory, but I think Steven Yeun, and he's from Walking Dead. He played Glenn on Walking Dead. He also was in the movie Nope, which I thought he was great too. He's a great actor, and I know a lot of people thought he was a weird choice at first because when you look at the Santinary character, whether that was true, he was going to be playing that character. If you look at that character, he doesn't look like he would be the way fit for the character based on the look of the character. My thing is always like I just care about getting great actors. Just cast a great actor is all I care about. He's a great actor, so I think he would have been a fantastic choice. But he put out a comment about what happened, and I thought I thought his comment was pretty good. What he put out, like he was saying, I think for me, time passing and then shifting kind of pulled me out of it. But the director, I know, is going to do an incredible job. I want to do a Marvel movie. It took a lot of drafts on the email to make sure that I could bear the sincerity of how sorry I was to have to back ass for which Marvel role he like to personally, intensely tackle this. Steven added, I think it's too early to say that. I probably pissed off too many people leaving, so I'm just going to say thank you for having me. I have some ideas, but I heard if you put it out there, you would never get it, so I'll keep it close to my chest. I thought this was just a great response, saying that, he would still want to work for Marvel. He's not, he didn't burn any business with Marvel. And what I'm guessing happened is, assuming, basing on like that one part of Congress and time passing and then shifting, I think that's referring to the fact scheduling conflicts probably happening because Thunderbolts has been pushed to 2025. I know David Hall recently said they rewrote the third act of the script for that movie, and this movie has been kind of pushed back a lot. So I can understand if you had to actor strike too, which I'm sure screwed up a lot of actors' schedules with films. So I'm not surprised if maybe something happened schedule-wise or time-wise it just didn't work out with his schedule. But it sucks to hear this because I think, like I said, I think he's a great actor, and I really would have loved if he was playing the character Sanctuary. If that was true, I really would have loved to see his interpretation because I think it could have been really interesting. And like, I feel like he's one of those choices where you go like, he's not what you would picture the character in your head, but it's one of those choices where I feel like, oh man, that's an interesting choice because it's not the actor you would think of, but sometimes that works out really great. So I'm just glad it sounds like he would still want to do a comic book role, and I hope someday he gets one. Like I said, he's a fantastic actor, and I would love to see him play a comic book character at some point. The next thing I want to talk about is that Todd McFarlane gave an update on the Spawn movie. Now, he's talked about doing a Spawn movie for years. I know originally back then he even talked about he was going to try to write and direct himself, and studios were like, "No, you're not a filmmaker. You never directed a movie before. You never written a film script before." No offense to Tom McFarlane, I love the character Spawn. He created a really great character. One of my favorite comic characters. But just because you being a comic writer, just because you know how to write comic books, that does not mean you know how to write a movie. And he has no directing experience whatsoever. So I always thought it was ridiculous that he was at first trying to get studios to have him write and direct the movie himself when he has no experience in any area. But yeah, his update was that he was saying how they're still planning to try to make that 2025 to start filming, and he was saying how that he's basically waiting for a call from Blumhouse, which is a studio that he presented the project towards. The script is done, but he's waiting for him to greenlight the project based on what they say about the script. But he also said that he's running out of patience. That if he can't get it to a studio in Iowa, then he's just going to release the movie independently from a studio. Whereas, I would love to see Blumhouse do it because they have they make a lot of low budget horror movies. I think with Spawn, you don't need Spawn to be a high budget movie. Personally, in my opinion. I know Jamie Foxx is also still attached to it, which I think would be a great choice. If this movie ever actually happens, because there's been talks of a new Spawn movie for years. And Tom McFarlane has been talking about it for years, so hopefully it does happen. But I do think even if you wanted to release do a new Spawn movie independently, and you wanted to kind of go more of an indie, low budget type of movie, I think that would be good too. Because look, I don't think, like I said, I don't think Spawn needs to have a high budget for a Spawn. I'd love to see Blumhouse do it. As long as the script is good, and I would just love to see a great Spawn movie. The original Spawn movie, in my opinion, was shit. No offense to people who enjoyed or love that movie. I think that was a bad movie. Even Michael J. White, who played Spawn in that movie, said, I remember, when he's talked about that movie, he doesn't really say that it was a good movie he was in. So even the main actor sounds like he's not exactly, he didn't think the movie was good. But Spawn, I think this has a lot of potential. Now, if you want to see a great Spawn interpretation, go watch the HBO animated series. The last 3 seasons of HBO. And the reason I'm messing the animated series on HBO is because, in my opinion, that is a blueprint on how to do a Spawn movie. That series was dark, it was bloody, violent. Spawn was scary in that show. He felt like a horror character. And I know Tom McFarlane, I think, talked about this new movie. He wants it to be all weighted and more kind of a horror vibe. Because look, the original Spawn movie was PG-13, and they try to make it more of a superhero. Like the whole point of Spawn is that he's a very dark, bloody character. I mean, I remember the Spawn HBO series we had on HBO at midnight episodes. Like it was a midnight animated series. So that's to tell you that the reason why that series is beloved and the movie is considered one of the original movies considered one of the worst comic movies ever is because to me that original movie just missed the point of the character. Like you don't need a high budget, you don't need a bunch of special effects and all that. Like you need obviously some visual effects, but like make it more like keep the budget low, make it a horror movie, make Spawn feel like scary, make it all weighted, bloody. So I hope this movie happens. It basically sounds like the script is done, but it also sounds like the studio needs to look at the script to say whether they would actually greenlight this movie. So hopefully it does happen. The next thing I want to talk about is there was a trailer released for the new Omen called The First Omen. Now, I've never really been into this franchise. Like I think I saw bits and pieces of the original, and I know there was like 3 other movies after that. But I'm not entirely sure, but I saw the whole thing of the original movie or not. But it's a franchise I've never really had interest going to check out. So I didn't realize they were even doing a new. But I watched the teaser trailer, and the job of a trailer is to make you interested and more excited for a movie. And you know what? This was a good teaser trailer. It made me interested. It's not one of the best teaser trailers I've seen, but I thought it was creepy, unsettling. I like the score in it. It added to the kind of creepy factor. I like how how they were kind of reverse in time. People move like the time moving backwards. It kind of added to creepy music in the trailer, and overall, it had me interested. It's not a movie I can see and say I'm like over the moon excited to see, but for a movie for a franchise that I've never really been into, this trailer actually at least made me interested to check out the new Omen. So, thought overall it was a good teaser trailer and a good first trailer for the first Omen. So that's all the movie news today. Until next time, fans.